Good to see you. I'm going to call the hall. I may direct that to some of y'all if you want them. How are you? Good to see you. All right. Y'all ready? How are you folks? Come in a little bit, we'll get cranking. All right, thank you all for joining us today. The members standing here will be familiar to anyone who frequents our committee, but I'd like to introduce them all to you in a different context today. Together we're launching the Bipartisan Indo-Pacific Task Force and showing the Chinese Communist Party and the world that we will not play their games or give them so much as an inch in this region. We've watched time and again as the People's Republic of China has attempted to dominate island nations and U.S. territories in the Pacific and undermine America's ability to secure our strategic and economic interests. This is unacceptable, and it's about to end. Our committee has jurisdiction over U.S. territories, and I've learned so much from the members representing these islands over the years. You will hear in a moment from Representatives Radewagen and Sablan, who are co-chairs of this task force and who are no strangers to Chinese aggression in their waters. Mr. Moylan also represents Guam, which currently houses one of America's most strategic naval outposts. To turn a blind eye to the Chinese government's aggression in the Indo-Pacific at best is irresponsible and at worst a national security disaster. It's time for Congress to act, which is why we are here today. This task force will begin regular meetings to conduct oversight on issues facing the U.S. territories and freely associated states and provide policy recommendations on actions our full committee can take to advance the United States interest in the region and push back on the PRC's influence throughout the Pacific. And in a rare showing of bipartisanship and unity on Capitol Hill, we are conducting this with the full support of Ranking Member Grijalva and the Democratic members of our committee. That should tell you something about how important this issue is to every American. And I'm excited to get to work. With that, I want to introduce the ranking member of the committee from the great state of Arizona, Ranking Member Grijalva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, we're having these rare but productive bursts of bipartisanship. This is one of them, and it's a good one. I want to thank the chairman for his leadership on this issue. I'm very grateful to him for this, and Congressman Sablan and Congresswoman Radewagen, who are going to lead the task force. The reasons have been outlined in his opening statement by the chairman. And the other reasons is the relationship, both economic and human, that we have with the people of the freely associated states and those territories affiliated with the United States. They're important to us. They're part of us. And as we move forward dealing with issues of resources, compact negotiations, and those issues become also a critical part of not only maintaining a relationship, but strengthening that relationship. And as the task force looks at all the various legislative initiatives and resource allocations that are going to be necessary to provide resilience, a sense of security, and to demonstrate how grateful we are for the role that these areas have played, the insular areas, for this country. And in doing so, this task force will have the support not only of the Democrats in the committee, but as I indicated, the leadership of the chairman in this. So we're very grateful. We're looking forward to it. And with that, let me turn that over to the gentlelady, Congresswoman Radawag, please.
Talofa lava. First of all, thank you to Chairman Westerman and Ranking Member Grijalva for convening this important task force. They've both been good friends over the years to the Pacific Islands, and I appreciate their commitment to this as a bipartisan effort. We stand together for the security and economic future of the U.S. Pacific territories, as well as our allies in the freely associated states. And I'm honored to be co-chairman of this task force and working together, as we often have over the years, with my good friend, co-chairman Sablan from the Marianas. This task force has assembled an impressive spectrum of members of Congress, an equally balanced 14-member group with perspective from their various committees, adding expertise to all sides of examining the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party in the Pacific Islands. Now, the Pacific Islands are my home. I live on the beautiful shoreline in American Samoa, and I spent years of my youth both in American Samoa and in the Trust Territory, now known as the Freely Associated States, and I studied in Hawaii and Guam as well. So I know each of them very well and the rest of the Pacific Islands. I look forward to working with these members as Congress fulfills its role in reviewing the compacts over the next few months and ensuring these friendships with the Republic of Palau, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and the Federated States of Micronesia are strong and enduring. These compacts are of great mutual benefit. They're one of the most important tools that the United States has in supporting democracy and good governance, while denying China the ability to project strategic power throughout the vast Pacific region. The Chinese Communist Party has decimated large swaths of the South China Sea and is ravaging the Pacific. Their highly subsidized distant water fishing fleet has been destroying fishing stocks through unreported, unregulated, illegal fishing, IUU fishing for too long. And we need to work with our Pacific Island partners to restore order on the high seas. In recent years, I've not been alone in seeking more signals of unwavering U.S. commitment to the Pacific. And this task force is a strong sign that Congress is focused on this key region, and we understand the deep concerns regarding China's ambitions in the Pacific Islands. Soifua Maia Manuia. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Radawag. I now want to introduce Representative Sablan from the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas, who will co-chair the task force from the Democrat side.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Chairman Westerman, Ranking Member Grijalva, for deciding to create this task force in anticipation of the completion of agreements between the COFA island nations and the United States. Eventually send those to Congress and we'll start the work we need to do. I actually have a little secret that I will share, because when Ambassador Yoon was appointed, I was actually cheering for Micronesia, but then also for the United States. And I found nothing wrong there, because this agreement with these three island nations is in the best interest of the United States of agreement. Whether or not we are in competition with China, or whether we get into the, unfortunately, looking at potentially confrontation with nations there, we need to prepare ourselves. And these island nations, these three island nations, could have walked away and negotiated with someone else, but they chose the United States. And the one thing I understand about the people of the Micronesian region, of which I was at one time, while they consider China an ally, the United States is family. So I'm grateful to see them again. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. I want to just take a brief minute and introduce the rest of the members on the task force that are here today. Representative James Moylan from Guam, Representative Harriet Hageman from Wyoming, who's the chair of the Indian and Insular Affairs Subcommittee, Representative Doug Lamborn from Colorado, met Mr. Sablan, Mr. Grijalva, and Ms. Rodawagon, Representative Rod Whitman from Virginia, Representative Ed Case from Hawaii, who's also someone who's very knowledgeable on these issues, and Representative Tom Tiffany from Wisconsin. And we'll now take questions. If you have a specific question for somebody behind me, please feel free to direct your question to them. Who will be first? So the question's on critical minerals. That is one consideration, but we're going to look at the whole economic ramifications in the region. And I can tell you that it wasn't critical minerals that drove us to form this task force. Representative Grijalva and I got letters to go get an intelligence briefing earlier this year. He and I went to the meeting and decided it would be good to create a bipartisan task force, and then we did another intelligence briefing just a few weeks ago for the entire committee. And I think everybody that's seen the intelligence briefing and everybody that's familiar with what's going on in the Indo-Pacific is on board with us forming this task force and getting to work. Obviously, if there are areas where there are critical minerals, that will come into the equation, but I don't see that as a huge issue there. Yes, sir. Well, we have jurisdiction over the territories, and we work with the freely associated states. The legislation to renew the compacts with the freely associated states comes through our committee. So this is a necessary exercise just from informational gathering, having hearings, getting input from Palau and Micronesia and the Marshall Islands, so we can be more informed when this legislation comes before the committee. But we'll also work not only with the Select Committee on China, we'll be working with Foreign Affairs and Judiciary, which also has jurisdiction over the compacts, and obviously working closely with HASC. And we've got members of the task force that serve on some of those committees. I think you deter aggression with strength, and we want to show strength and support for our partners in the Indo-Pacific, and I think this is the first step in doing that. And we plan to make a trip down there to meet with leaders there, not them having to travel to Washington, D.C., but Congress going to the area to meet in person and to hear their concerns and let them know that we're listening. We want a strong partnership, and we want to work with them for not only our strategic interests, but their strategic interests.
And then just to follow up, how do you all view the way the Biden administration has handled the threat in the region and past administrations as well? Do you think that past administration should have done more? Is that why you all are creating this task force?
I think that gets into an area that's beyond this task force, but we want to take the information we've got right now, and we want to look at how we make the situation better today and how we make it better going forward. And as you can see, it's a unified bipartisan group that's going there to gather information, to get informed, so that we can do our part to make these agreements work out.
All these geopolitical situations on the front lines of climate change, is the task force specifically address that particularly in this Congress?
Well, that's another one of the issues, similar to critical minerals. Anything that comes up that's important to the freely associated states or the territories there in the Indo-Pacific is something we want to listen to and respond to appropriately.
Just as a follow-up, do you foresee any ideological opposition even hearing that discussion?
Well, you're always going to get some ideological opposition on whatever topic you bring up, so I can't speak for all members of the committee. But our goal is to go and listen and to hear folks out and to respond accordingly. So the question is, why is the task force not just one of the subcommittees? This does fall under the jurisdiction of Representative Hageman's Committee on Indian and Insular Affairs, but we believe this issue is so important that we wanted to create a task force specifically focused on Indo-Pacific relationships, and that's why Ranking Member Grijalva and I, in a bipartisan manner, agreed to create this. We've got equal numbers of Republicans, equal numbers of Democrats, and we do have good representation from the Indian and Insular Affairs Task Force. We've also got members like Mr. Tiffany, who serves on the Judiciary Committee, which Judiciary also has jurisdiction over these compacts. Representative Whitman, are you on Armed Services, Ed? He's on Approps. We got Armed Services Approps. Doug is on Armed Services. So we're trying to take the expertise we have on our committee, combine that into a task force so we can do a better job of addressing the needs of these folks in the Indo-Pacific region.
Is there a timeline for the task force to either produce recommendations for legislation or embargo? Is there a timeline we should be looking at?
We put together a preliminary timeline of different events that we want to do. We plan to go down in August on a Codell. We've also are going to have hearings, and we've got a list of known events that we've kind of got penciled in on the schedule. And the goal is to hopefully do our job and dissolve this task force by the end of the year. But we will evaluate and see where we are after we do the work. See if there's any merit in keeping the task force together. Any questions for my colleagues? All right. Well, thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Good job, Bruce. Good job. Good job.
Good job, Bruce.
Thanks a lot. Good job. Good job. Can I ask you?
Mahalo.
Now,